According to Ephesians chapter 6, the choice of weapon for the Spirit of God that lives on the inside of you and on the inside of me is the Word of God. Hello, I'm Pastor Gray, pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church of Longview. In just a moment, you're getting ready to go into the service here at Emmanuel. And guess what we use to give the Spirit to work in our lives? The Word of God. I trust that the sermon you're about to hear, that God's Spirit will use it as His sword, and according to Hebrews, that it will get down into us and it'll start working in us, dividing asunder, and will do His perfect work. May the Lord bless you as you listen to the truth of God's Word. Romans chapter 14, and thank you for your patience. I was over at the teenagers with the team reveal, and they were clapping for what color team they weren't on. Only teenagers think this way, they go, I don't look, Pastor, I don't look good in green. And it's like, what color do you look good in? Well, if I could have a black with a little bit, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, Romans chapter 14, and let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we praise you for your word, and we praise you for just everything that you've done. And God, I pray that you'd bless all the way from the nursery to the 2 and 3 year olds, 4 and 5, 1st through 6, and all those classes, teenagers, Soul Purpose here in the auditorium, RU, and Lord, we just praise you for everything you have going on. And may this teaching time, may it do something with our Christian life. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Romans chapter number 14, and we're on verse number 3, and I would encourage you to go back and kind of listen to the past lessons. A church that is in one accord, and a church that has a unity about it. This family structure that we're trying to get across. One of the prayers coming out of the revival is that our church would be just much, much more closer. That we would recognize each other as individuals. That we would recognize the fact with each other that we're at a different level of growth. Romans chapter 14 is the perfect chapter for everyone to recognize your individual responsibility toward the other brother. In fact, if you'll go back to Romans chapter 13, it kind of sets up Romans chapter 14. And we talked about it, verse 8, owe no man anything but to love one another. Now, we know that sometimes they use this financially, but this is not a financial verse. Contextually, this is a verse that you should not be owing anybody an apology. Look at the context. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Now, you can use it for financially, but if you truly look at verse number 7 and go back up, render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom is due, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. I want you to notice how he's transitioning from the financial, physical world, and now he's crossed a bridge, because look at the end of verse 7, fear, honor, love. So he's working his way down to where we think we're good Christians because we've paid all our debts. We don't owe anybody anything. But then we think, well, I can live like I want to live with a brother. That's not true. Because the church is based on this one fact, that there is no unspoken tug of war going on between us and another believer in this auditorium. Now, you should pay your debts. But when you walk into this auditorium, understand this, there should be no unspoken tug of war between you and another believer as you walk through church. And a lot of times a church experiences a schism, and they experience a unspoken, why can't God move? Well, if you look at it, you see here for this, verse 9, thou shalt not commit adultery, kill, thou shalt not steal, shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. If there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, now here we go, he's referring back to the Gospels, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. So he works his way down. Now he tells us how to interact. So let's look at verse 1. We're going to kind of review just a little bit. Him that is weak in the faith. This does not mean somebody that is inferior. It means somebody that is developing their faith. It means somebody who is saved. They are developing their faith. He said, receive ye, but not to doubtful disputations. So here is somebody that just has gotten saved. They are developing this faith the best they can. You know what God says? We're to receive them. You can come hang out with me. But they are not to come hang out with you for you and I to bring forth Christ out of them. The doubtful disputation means that you dig in and you go, well, you're not doing that right, you're not doing that right, and how dare you do that, and how dare you do that. And it is amazing to me, I'm a little bit on the loud side, Brother Maxwell. It is amazing to me how that the more you let somebody hang around you as a Christian and you receive them. Do you know what people just want to know? Am I good enough? You're a churchgoer. Am I good enough to be around you? I love being a pastor. I do. I love the fact that Kelly's my wife, and tonight she's ill, and I love the fact that we are who we are. We're trying the best we can, and I think sometimes people get shocked when it's like you don't mind hanging out, and it's like, no, I don't mind hanging out. They're fine with me. Because there is something about how are people going to know unless we let them hang out? But the average independent fundamental Baptist church thinks they're going to catch something. And it's almost like, man, if we let them in our car, if we let them hang out with us, what kind of influence are they going to be? I think it's supposed to be the other way around. And maybe it's a good thing they don't hang out with the average independent fundamental Baptist, or they may catch that snobbery. Come on now. So there is something to where it's like, no. So you're just developing your faith. It says receive, but not. Then verse 2, we talked about this last week, and it made everybody hungry. For one believeth that he may eat all things, and another who is weak eateth herbs. So let's talk about this. So what it's saying is, when somebody gets saved, and I pulled out the salad, if you remember that. I pulled out just a plain plate of salad, that's herbs. There are some people that are like, oh, no. We have to restrict the spiritual life down to just this. Then there are other people on the other end that says, no, I can eat anything I want to eat. I can do anything I want to do. So the Bible's teaching us that in a church that is all about the gospel. Now, in a church that's not a soul-winning church, in a church that's not interested about getting the gospel out, in a church that's not willing to step out and get people to come, you won't have this problem. You just won't. But when you have this, I cut through the fellowship hall, and there's about 30 people in that fellowship hall with RU right now, and I was enjoying the diversity. I stepped through, hey, how y'all doing? I'm going to preach, and they were all like, hey, Pastor, how you doing? Let me tell you something. They're developing their faith, and here's the problem. You have these people that are like, this is my faith. And I'm going to talk about a lot tonight. This is my faith, and I've got to be very careful about what I eat, and they've restricted their diet down. And then you have these people on this side that are all about, I can do anything. And they have confused liberty with, Brother Carson's, here we go, with a what? License. They have confused the fact that because I'm on my way to heaven, then I have the license to do anything I want to do. The difference is this, is that here you have someone maturing their faith. Here you have someone that is like, no, I can do anything I want to do. It hadn't hurt me so far. The mentality is, man, I ate me like 6 weeks of French fries. Hadn't killed me yet. Well, understand this. You keep gorging on bad food, it's going to catch up with you. So in a church, you have these two distinct, all right? So now we're going to talk about the attitude of both of these. Right? Verse number 3, if you'll look at it. So him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not the doubtful disputations. For one believeth that he may eat all things, and another, and it's a given, believeth he eats just herbs. Look at verse 3. Let not him that eateth despise him that eateth not. And let not him which eateth not judge him that eateth. We are truly in the middle of this right here. This is where a church breaks apart, okay? Because it's the unspoken attitude that exists. I want you to take your Bibles, if you will, and go to Proverbs 27:19. Proverbs 27:19. Proverbs 27 in verse number 19. I was looking for the 27th chapter of Romans. Proverbs 27, verse number 19. And look what it says here. It says this, as in water, face answereth to what? Face. Look at this. So the heart of man to who? Man. Now, you are either one or two kinds of Christians in this room. You are either the Christian that you take the attitude spiritually, I can eat anything I want to eat, and I have this liberty to eat whatever because it really doesn't affect my salvation. It doesn't affect my sanctification, and I love the Lord, and I just do whatever I want to do. Or you're like these people that eat herbs, and you're like, my faith is very precious to me, and I want to build my faith with a sensitivity that, one, I'm not going to dishonor my Lord. Two, I want to be the best example I can be to the people around me. When there is a carelessness about our Christian life, there are people that I can listen to whatever I want to listen to. I can watch whatever I want to watch. I can go wherever I want to go. And who are you, mortal man, to tell me, well, hold it. So the Bible says, okay, so if you are this Christian that believe you can eat all things. So if you have come to grips, and if you'll notice back, if you will, for one believeth that he may eat, verse number 2, all things. Another who is weak eateth herbs. So we talked about last week that word believeth there is that you are convinced. There is no twinge of consciousness. All right? I used the illustration about the Beach Boys last week, getting in the car, the truck with that guy, and he was like, he turned it down. Then he was like, hey, Pastor, I'm sorry that music was a little loud. He wasn't sorry for the Beach Boy music. He was just sorry that it was loud Beach Boy music. Are you with me? But he had no twinge of consciousness. None. He didn't even think twice about it. How many have ever been around somebody and a word slipped, right? And then they went, ooh, I'm sorry, right? But how many's ever been around somebody and a word slipped? They didn't think twice about it. It's just how I talk. Charles is like, Jazz does that all the time, and they don't even think twice about it. How many's ever been in somebody's home that's a believer, and then they quick ran up and turned it, quickly had to get to the TV because they didn't know you were there. What's going on is their twinge of this consciousness. And so what's happening is that you and I have to be very careful that what we believe, okay, so we're going to get into the herbs and all things. But I want to talk to you right now, regardless of where you're at. You can tell if where you're at is of God by your attitude to people who are not where you're at. I want you to think about that. So if you're sitting here, I don't know where you're at. I don't know where you're at in your music. I don't know where you're at in your entertainment. I don't know where you're at in your language. I don't know where you're at in your dress. I don't know where you're at in your styles. I don't know where you're at in your modesty. I don't know where you're at in any of that. But I can tell you this, that the truest test, and this is what Paul was trying to get across to the Romans, the truest test of if it is God leading is your attitude toward everybody else. Because there's only one or two positions of an attitude. And it's found right here in Romans chapter 14 and verse 3. Before we look at this, well, just look at it in its context. Let him that eateth, what is the next word, please? Let not him that eateth, what, please? Despise him that what? So you know what? Okay. If I were to tell you which one are you, Pastor, I don't believe you can eat all things. Okay. I think there are some things you need to cut out of your spiritual diet. Okay. I just don't think you can do this. But I will tell you this, that I view myself as weak. I really am very protective of my faith. And I just really want to mature this faith. And so I am walking around with this herb of just go, man, if I add that to this diet, I know me, that's not going to help. And so my conscience, I'm not perfect, but I will tell you, it is very important to me. But yet I'm around people. Let me use this illustration. Have you ever been eating with somebody that had no manners? How many know what I'm talking about? And you're sitting there going, can you not eat? You know, okay, leave the door open. What'd your mama say? Were you born in a barn? It's like, no, mama, because you're my mama. I don't know, was I? No, so understand that, so here you have somebody. The word despise means this. Are you ready? Because you're not as strict as I am. Okay, I'm pretty narrow. You ask me, do you do this? And I'll take, no, I don't do that. Why? I can give you a verse and chapter. And so I'm boring to the world. Y'all listen to this. I'm boring to the world because I don't think some things are funny. I don't think some things should be done. And if somebody said, hey, would you like to go? No. And you know what they'll say? You're boring. Well, hopefully my wife doesn't think so. My kids don't think so. My grandkids don't think so. I don't have to go get drunk to have a good time. And by the way, I don't have to go do a lot of things. And, well, we're not getting drunk. It's just a little bit. Hold it. I've already made up my mind. I'm not telling you have to live my way. I'm just telling you this. The truest test of a believer, if you are on the right track with God, is your attitude toward everybody else. So here you have someone that eats herbs, and guess what? You know what Paul said? Don't despise those people who eat everything. Let me ask us all a question. Do you think down on somebody because they eat all things? If you found out that one of your family members or somebody in the church were eating all things, what would happen to you? Oh, you don't understand. I just don't do those things. Okay. But what is your attitude like? Because everybody picks up on this attitude. Everybody does. And there has to be some place that people act like Christians. And you know what Paul was trying to tell the Romans? There are some of you that you wouldn't add that to your diet, but you're not to look at people who do that and think they're less of a human being than you are. Do you know there are people in this auditorium that were on their way to RU that last night they had a rough night? And I was shaking hands coming through, and there was sitting in here, and then behind somebody was somebody that, and you know what I said? I shook this person's hand, said, hey man, I'm glad you're here. Went to the next piece, man, I'm glad you're here. And the look on his face was like, but I'm not like. Listen, what does it matter? Because when my herb eating, still a human, compared to somebody's all eating, still a human, compare that with Christ's perfection to your strict life. How do you compare? We don't. And so there has to be this, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to love the Lord the best I can. And for Bob Gray II, as I read the word, I know I can't do that. I know I'm not supposed to do that. Because verse 2 is this, for one believeth. Did you see that? One believeth. And there are certain things that I have in my mind that I believe. And this is supported, if you would, go to verse 5. Look at it. One man esteemeth one day above another. Another esteemeth every day alike. It goes back to one man only says, eat herbs. The other says, well, it doesn't matter what you eat. He now moves from a menu to a calendar. Okay? So what he's done is he said, let's look at what you eat. You people who are vegetarians look at you people that are buffet meat eaters, and you're like, how dare you eat that kind of stuff? And people who are meat eaters say, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm having a good time. You're the one that's skinny and anorexic, not me. And this person's saying, well, I just don't believe that's good for you. And going back and forth. So Paul says, okay, let's get away from the food. That caused a riot. Let's talk about your calendar. He said, there are some of you that believe this day is very important. Listen to me. September the 24th is very important. That's my birthday. Very important. But you know what happened this past September 24th? People treated it like just any other day. I woke up saying, this is a great day. I am 53 years old. And I would ask people, do you know what today is? And they're like, no. Like, you have no bearing on today. No. Did something happen today? In history, 53 years ago? And then I say, Kelly, do you not know what today is? Hey, there are some people, and there are days that mean much to you. Your anniversary should mean much to you. Your birthday should. But there are other people that's like, yeah, it's just another day. Just another day. But look what it says at the very end of the verse. Let every man be fully, what please? Persuaded in his own mind. Now let's stop and understand. You're not persuaded because you're convinced. Look at this. We are persuaded because the book convinced us. You see, the difference is, well, I'm just going to pick my own. No. What is the Holy Spirit of God doing in your life? And if the Holy Spirit of God says, cut that out of your diet, take that off your calendar, add that special day, then what it means is simply this: as God, Miss Stephanie, works in your life, and God works in my life, that I have no right to look at your life and go, oh. Despise means this, that we are discounting. Okay? It's poor Miss Stephanie. Just pray for her. You know, she's just. No. I am not to have that attitude. So the truest test of my diet and my calendar that God is working in me is when it does not promote a prideful me, but it promotes a humble me. God, thank you for my brothers and sisters in Christ. God, thank you that we're here this morning. But please know this, if we're walking through church and we're walking through life, and we have this kind of attitude to where, well, tell me what's going on in your life and I'll tell you what I think about you. No. If they tell you I am a brother in Christ, then guess what? God, would you work on them? And it does not mean I compromise who I am. Because here's why. I believe I am fully persuaded in my own mind what should be in my diet, what should not be in my diet, what should be. Do you know how many times people say, Pastor, have you watched this good Christian movie? No. Pastor, I'll give you 2 tickets and you can go. And I'm like, the deacons go, I don't go, but you know. And when they look at you and they go, like you, but it's about Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm convinced that the Bible doesn't let a Christian do that. But because the Bible has helped me. So there is this despising that takes place. There is this maturity. So as you are maturing, listen, you should be becoming more like Christ and less like the world. And this is what Romans 14 is all about. God's working in us. And there's some people that say you don't need to eat that. There's some people that say you need to eat this and this calendar day. But know this, it is individualized to every one of us that's sitting here that God's working in you, because what is going to happen is this: God wants to use you to help the people around you. Do you know there are things, I'm growing every day. And one of my friends said something to me the other day that after they got done saying it, they just said it in passing. It was just in passing. And they started out, Brother Gray, years ago, and they told me this story. I had never thought about how this fits in Bob Gray's life. Then all of a sudden, I got so convicted that I had, so where is this at in the Bible? I've never seen this. Listen, I am still growing. But I can't let God's Spirit speak to me if I'm using my spirit to judge everybody else. Because look at the second half of the verse. Look what it says here. Let not him that eateth despiseth him that eateth not. So I kind of had it backwards here. So those that eat all things, you can't look at those who decide not to eat what you eat. Let me use a good case in point. And I'm going to get myself in trouble, and I know I am, but that's okay. So here we go. My first time to the Amish country. How many's ever been to Amish country? Okay. How many's ever seen the way the ladies dress? Very conservative, everything's homemade, okay? So very conservative. Well, Kelly doesn't dress that way. And I can remember what my attitude was. And it was almost like, really? Really? And I made a smart crack, and my wife was very quick to tell me that wasn't Christian. And I'm thinking to myself, but it was funny. And she goes, but it wasn't Christian. You see, the truest test of where I'm at spiritually is my attitude toward those who don't do what I do. Because I can't help anybody if I'm always discounting. And we usually do it to somebody who's stricter than us. Don't we? You let somebody who doesn't do what you do, and it's like, well, they just haven't grown up yet, and poor them. But then look at the second part of the verse, and let not him which eateth not judge him that eateth. So there can't be a despising on one end and a judging on the other. The word judge there, if you're taking notes, it means to draw a conclusion mentally and judicially. It means that you've just put this person in a box. How many would not want to be held accountable for how you were 15 years ago? How many would agree you've grown spiritually in 15, 20 years? How many look back on things you used and you're like, oh man, how did anybody put up with me? On either end, how did anybody ever put up with me? Just but by the grace of God, you made it this far with somebody liking you as a friend. And this, what it's telling us is this, that look, there are two kinds of people in a church. There are those who are just like, no, I can't do this. My faith is very important. And there are those who say, yeah, it doesn't matter. You're a Christian. Do whatever you want to do. And the truest test of what you've added to your life or what you don't do in your life is only put under the test of your attitude toward your fellow believers. And if you are discounting a believer because they're just a little bit weird, like you get together and all they talk about is the Bible, can we talk about something else? They just don't get it. They're living underneath a rock. And all of a sudden you don't invite these people. Let's get down to brass tacks now. We don't include these people because they're going to make it awkward. Michael Grant was here. He watches all the time. Michael Grant and I can go out to eat, and we will spend 45 minutes out of an hour talking about God and His Word. If I said, man, that's a beautiful sunset, he'll say, yep. And in the book, the sun represents, and we will just go on this diatribe, right? Well, somebody was kind of listening to us, and they made this statement. God bless them. They said, man, I would have to climb spiritually this high ladder to hang out with you guys. And I said, hey, it's not me. It's Brother Grant. He knows everything about the book. Not me. But I love that. But then there are other people that are like, man, we could talk about the Bible and then talk about this and talk about this. And listen to me. You can't come to the table with your friends going, well, you got to be this way and you can't be this way. No, you got to get along with the Lord. And you've got to let the Lord do a work in your heart. And the truest test of where you're at is your attitude toward the people around you. Now, let me give several things as we end, if you will. And I'm going to give you three things, and let's go back to verse number 1. It's the wrong attitude that you have. So let's qualify our attitude, okay? So, Pastor, how do I know if I have the wrong attitude about where I'm at? So how do I know when it comes out? First thing is found in verse number 1. Him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to what, please? Doubtful disputations. You're in the wrong attitude about your Christian life and where you're at when you are always trying to cast doubt on somebody else's relationship with the Lord. When there is I doubt that guy's saved. I doubt that guy loves the Lord. When we start casting doubt on the people around us,
How can somebody be saved and do that? Well, that guy must really be saved. No. The only one that knows if you're saved on this earth is you. And the only one that knows if you're saved in heaven is the Lord. But if our relationship is always based on this constant examination, and I doubt there. Have you ever been with somebody, and I'm going to get a little bit personal now. Have you ever been with somebody and they were kind to this person's face and they were carrying on a great conversation, and then when that person turned around and walked away, this person in the privacy, just you two, went, yeah, that guy's a fake. I doubt. And they started throwing mud. Listen to this. Whatever that person believes, their attitude is saying, God's not in this. Because thou shalt love thy neighbor as thy, what please? Self. You have got to let the Lord develop your spiritual life. You are not meant to be good like everybody else. You are not meant to live up or live down to. You are meant for God, build me, God. God, I'm just sitting here. I don't know what to add to my diet. I don't know what to take away. God, I don't know what calendar I need to be a part of. God, I don't even know. But God, you teach me, and I just want to grow. And this excitement about growing causes you not to bring everybody's life into doubt. You know, you can't even enjoy a special sometimes without somebody saying, well, the only reason they did that is because they're just trying to show off. Now, it may be true. But if that's our first thought, y'all, then the relationship we have with the Lord can't be of God. It just can't be. The second thing I'll tell you is this, is when you do not allow people into your life because they have higher standards than you do. That's what this word despise means. It means that if we let them come with us, they're going to cramp our lifestyle. It's despising, it's setting it naught. Do you know the worst kind of church to be a part of, and the worst kind of church to be a part of is when you find out all your friends have been invited someplace and you weren't. I'm going to tell you a real-time story that happened about 5 years ago, and I was just given permission to talk about it because it was a big deal in this person's life. They were hanging out with a group of friends, and they were all peers, and I won't give you the stage or the age because it'll kind of give away the circumstance. But they were all hanging out, and they went about 6 weeks, building this camaraderie. And this one person was like, hey, Pastor, I think I finally found some friends. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. Are they encouraging to you? Yes, they are, Pastor. They're very encouraging to me. And then they asked to see me, and they came and said, Pastor, I don't think they like me. And I was like, tell me what's going on. They said, well, you know, we were going along, and I just found out that they held this gathering. And I was like, okay, and you weren't invited? And it was like, no, Pastor, I wasn't invited. I said, well, part of Christianity is that you have to give them their own life. Be happy that they got together. This is part of growing. So we got past it. And then this person came back and said, Pastor, can I talk to you again about what I said, sure, what's going on? I said, I just found out why they didn't invite me. And I said, really? And I said, what's going on? I said, Pastor, they didn't invite me because they were doing something as a group at this activity that they knew they don't need to be a part of. So let's on purpose don't invite them. That's what this verse is talking about. It is talking about that, well, they're a little bit too straight-laced. And we know that they would not approve of this. Newsflash. It's what my mama used to say, there's no such thing as locker room talk. If you have to confine your conversation to locker room talk, no women allowed, it's bad talk. Because if you can't say in front of your mama, you shouldn't be saying it at all. And that's, honestly, y'all, listen to this. God gives you people that are stricter than you are to help you, not to hurt you. The third thing that I think is when you judge. When you hang a label on somebody and you judge them, this should not be. I'm going to ask that you, and I need to close, and I know the kids kind of take our distraction, and they should because they're beautiful children. But I'm going to ask you 3 things. 1, start letting God build you. Start letting God build your menu and build your calendar. What should you or should you not do? Number 2, be fully persuaded in your mind, this is what God has me at right now. The next thing is qualify this by your attitude. And if you find this judgmental, pharisaical, or you're discounting, please don't live that way. God has put you there. I will end once again. The guy with the Beach Boys. Are you ready? So I've saved it for this juncture. The guy with the Beach Boys that turned it down, he said, Pastor, I'm so sorry that I had that loud in the truck. And I said, yeah, that's okay. The twins, and he said, you don't listen to the Beach Boys, do you? And I said, I used to. Newsflash for you people. I used to. He goes, what made you stop? And I said, the first time I found out how immoral they were. He was like, well, how immoral are they? And I took my phone and Googled it. My covenant eyes was going nuts. The emails are blowing up back. And I said, just Google. He came back. He said, Pastor, do you have any idea what these guys were all about? And I said, that's why I can't listen to them. Because their music is nothing more than an expression of their life. And I don't want my life to be like that. You see, when you are fully persuaded and you don't just hey, we're going to be okay. God's good. Somebody's going to ask you, why don't you do that? And then that's the most beautiful conversation you'll ever have.
I really hope that you enjoyed the service here at Emmanuel. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. At the bottom of the screen is my cell phone number. If I can do anything for you, please give me a call. I trust that you'll be back with us for the next broadcast. God bless you, my friend. Have a great week.